I never thought picking up my paycheck would flip my world upside down. Every last Friday of the month, I'd trudge into the sleek glass tower of Apex Media in downtown Seattle, our headquarters overlooking Puget Sound, all chrome and modern art. I'd sign the ledger, grab my envelope from the HR desk, and head back to my tiny apartment in Capitol Hill. It wasn't much: creaky floors, a view of rain-slicked streets, and the distant hum of ferries. At 23, I was Emily, the inventory clerk who kept the supply chains humming for our bustling ad agency. No glamour, just steady work that paid the bills and let me splurge on coffee from the corner roastery. My boss, Elias Harrington, was the kind of guy who dominated Forbes covers and TED Talks. 38, impeccably suited, with a jawline that screamed old money and a presence that made boardrooms fall silent. He owned half the media landscape on the West Coast, from podcasts to streaming empires. I figured he barely knew I existed, buried in my cubicle amid stacks of invoices. But that Friday, as he handed over my envelope himself, unusual, since he usually delegated everything, his eyes met mine over his designer glasses. "Emily, any big plans for the weekend?" he asked, his voice smooth like aged bourbon. I stammered something about Netflix and laundry, grabbed my stuff, and bolted. Chalked it up to small talk from a billionaire playing nice, but it stuck with me through the weekend, replaying as I hiked the trails at Discovery Park, the salty breeze whipping my hair. Monday rolled in, and there he was again, lingering by the coffee machine in the break room. "Join me for a walk after work?" he suggested, casual as if we were old pals. We ended up strolling along the waterfront, the Olympic Mountains fading into twilight. He ditched his tie, rolled up his sleeves, revealing tattoos from his rebellious college days at Stanford. That's when he opened up, his usual commanding tone cracking. "I'm exhausted, Emily. Not from the deals or the red-eye flights. It's home. My wife, Victoria, had an affair with her yoga instructor and just left. Packed up, took half the art collection, and vanished to some retreat in Sedona. Left me rattling around that empty mansion in Bellevue, staring at walls that echo." I listened, really listened, as the waves lapped against the pier. He talked about the loneliness of fame, the galas where everyone wanted a piece of him, but no one asked how he was holding up. "You're the first person in years who's looked at me like I'm human," he said, his hand brushing mine accidentally. Or maybe not. I shared my own scraps, growing up in a small Oregon town, losing my dad young, scraping by on scholarships at UW. Sometimes, I told him, you just need someone to see past the surface. From there, things shifted. He'd swing by my desk with a latte from the artisanal spot downstairs, asking about my day like it mattered. One evening, we grabbed burgers at Dick's Drive-In. No fancy reservations, just greasy wrappers and laughs under the neon sign. He confessed how wealth amplified isolation. I admitted feeling invisible in a city full of tech bros and influencers. His smile, when it broke through, genuine, warm, lit something in me, a spark I hadn't felt since college crushes. A week later, his text buzzed. "Dinner?" We met at a hole-in-the-wall Italian joint in Pioneer Square, brick walls and candlelight hiding us from prying eyes. Over pasta and Chianti, he wove tales of his humble start, bootstrapping a radio station in Portland before hitting it big. "I built an empire," he said, "but lost the simple stuff, like this, real conversation." I reached across the table, my fingers finding his. "You can have both," I whispered. That night, walking back to my car, he pulled me close under the streetlights. "Emily, you've got no idea how much I need this." His kiss was tentative at first, then deepening with years of pent-up longing. At 23, I was worlds away from his life of private jets and power lunches, but in that moment, none of it mattered. We were just two people, raw and reaching for connection. The weeks that followed felt like a dream I didn't dare wake up from. Elias and I carved out our own little world, tucked away from the glitz of his usual orbit. We'd meet at quiet spots, a dive bar in Fremont with a jukebox that only played grunge, or a bookstore cafe in Ravenna where we'd pore over dog-eared sci-fi novels. He'd laugh, unguarded when I teased him about his terrible taste in pizza toppings. Pineapple, really. And I'd catch myself staring at the crinkles around his eyes, wondering how someone so powerful could feel so fragile. One rainy evening, he invited me to his office after hours. The Apex Media Tower was a ghost town, just the hum of the HVAC and the city lights sprawling below like a galaxy. He was perched on the edge of his desk, no jacket, sleeves rolled up, looking less like a media titan and more like a guy who'd just run out of fight. "Emily, I'm tired of the charade," he said, voice low. "The board meetings, the paparazzi, the endless game of who's got the bigger yacht. I want something real. I think I want that with you." My heart did a somersault, but doubt crept in. "Elias, I'm just a clerk. I've got student loans and a leaky faucet. You're you. What happens when the headlines catch wind?" He crossed the room, took my hands, and looked at me like I was the only thing grounding him. "Let them talk. I've spent years chasing what they think I should be. You make me want to be me again." We started stealing more moments. A Sunday drive to Snoqualmie Falls, where we stood in the mist, his arm around my waist, talking about dreams we'd buried. He wanted to learn guitar, maybe start a community radio station for local bands. I confessed I'd always wanted to write a novel, something raw about growing up in the Pacific Northwest. "You should," he said, his breath warm against my cheek. "You've got stories in you, Emily. I see it." But the world wasn't going to let us stay hidden. One night at our usual Italian spot, a guy with a camera phone lingered too long near our table. By morning, a grainy photo was trending on X, Elias Harrington with Mystery Woman. My phone blew up, coworkers, my mom, even my old roommate from college. I panicked, but Elias just squeezed my hand. "We'll write it out. I'm not letting you go." Work got weird. Colleagues whispered in the break room, and my inbox filled with nosy emails masked as concern. Elias, unfazed, started inviting me to his world. Not the flashy galas, but quiet dinners at his Bellevue mansion. It was less a palace than I'd imagined, cozy, with mismatched furniture and a record player spinning Springsteen. We'd cook together, laughing as Flower dusted his expensive sweater. One night, as we swayed to Thunder Road in his living room, he whispered, "I haven't felt this alive in years." I was falling hard, and it scared me. I wasn't built for his spotlight, but every time I doubted, he'd pull me close, his hands steady, his voice sure. "We're not their story, Emily. We're ours." The whispers at work turned into a low roar, but Elias didn't flinch. He'd show up at my cubicle with a grin, ignoring the side eyes from the marketing team, and slip me a note. "Meet me at the pier, 7 p.m. We'd wander along the waterfront, sharing soft pretzels and stories about our worst teenage haircuts. His was a mullet, mine a tragic perm. It was easy to forget the world watching us when his laugh echoed over the water, warm and unguarded. But the world didn't forget. A tabloid ran a hit piece calling me a gold digger from nowhere. My stomach churned reading it, but Elias just tossed the paper in the trash. "They don't know us, Emily. They never will." One chilly October night, he drove us out to Whidbey Island, away from Seattle's buzz. We parked near a quiet beach, the moon painting the waves silver. Wrapped in a blanket, we sat on the hood of his vintage Mustang, sipping hot cocoa from a thermos. He told me about his dad, a mechanic who'd taught him to love cars and hard work, long before the millions rolled in. "He'd like you," Elias said, his fingers tracing mine. "You're real, like he was." I leaned into him, confessing how I'd always felt like I was running to catch up with rent, with dreams, with life. "With you," I said, "I'm not running anymore." That night, back at his place, we didn't bother with dinner. The city lights flickered through his floor-to-ceiling windows as he pulled me close, his lips finding mine with a quiet urgency. "I'm done hiding," he murmured. "I want a life with you, Emily. Not the one they expect, but the one we choose." My heart pounded, but I nodded, because I wanted it too. more than I'd ever wanted anything. The next week, he invited me to a small charity event, not as arm candy, but as his partner. I wore a simple dress I'd found at a thrift shop, feeling like an imposter among Seattle's elite. But Elias introduced me with pride, his hand steady on my back. The room buzzed, but for once I didn't care. We danced under dim chandeliers, and he whispered, "You're my home now." By Thanksgiving, we were planning a trip to my hometown in Oregon, just the two of us. No cameras, no headlines, just Elias and me, building something real, one quiet moment at a time.